So here we are. Here we are. As I hear that song, it always moves me and prepares me for the message for today. And in that movement and in that reflection, we have an opportunity to actually take a look at where we've been and where we're headed. This year, our theme has been timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. And no matter how many times I speak those words, it takes me to a place to where I think about this was once upon a time called ancient wisdom, but I love the term timeless wisdom because it is the wisdom of the ages and of the ageless in which we grasp a hold of. And yet, as we grasp a hold of this timeless wisdom, we still have space for this evolutionary vision. Ernest Holmes said that we're open at the top. And so even though we have traditions and ways of being and things that we do on a regular basis for our own edification, there is still the opportunity to engage in this evolutionary vision. There's still things that we must participate in to keep us going even further. And throughout the year, we've been looking at all of our spiritual principles. We've been looking at ways of being. We've been releasing things that no longer serve us. And today, as we look at Breathe in the View, which is the theme for the month, this week's talk title is The View from Here. And traditionally in the month of November, especially in USA culture, we celebrate this idea of Thanksgiving and gratitude. And so it has some of that theme in it in terms of the view from here. What is the view from here? This year, 2021, has been laced with lots of joy and lots of sorrow. And as I review and reflect upon the 10 months prior, from January of 2021, when we were in the thick of COVID, when we were in the thick of isolating and being a community that was meeting on Zoom, and a community that seemed to be growing further apart only because we weren't physically together, that we've been in this upward spiral and sometimes a struggle and a challenge to really come together. I think about the joys of technology and us being able to meet via Zoom and to be able to keep the connections. And some of the joy about being able to meet via Zoom has been, oh, wow, I actually get to see people's faces in these little squares instead of the back of their heads when we're sitting in the sanctuary or just looking over to the side to see the profile. But that our technology seemingly overnight has been able to bridge a gap where we were separated physically, but where we get to still come together in a virtual way. And yet, through all of this, all of the joys, there's been, many, many challenges and sorrows. Losing family members and beloveds right here in our own community. and just feeling that sense of there's a void, there's someone missing, there's something missing. And for each of us over this year so far, to be on this trajectory and to be on this path that has gotten us to this point of, if we were to see it as, climbing a mountain, to get to this particular plateau, knowing the things that we've gained and yet recognizing the things and the people that we've lost. And so there's great joy, and yet there's deep sorrow and grief, thinking about our beloveds, thinking about the way that life used to be prior to March 2020, thinking about how we continue to move forward one step at a time. And here we are, November 7th, 2021, and we are reaching, and we have reached this place where we get to look out and notice the view from here. And in noticing the view from here, which includes making the decision not to come back to our beloved sanctuary, right? Where folks said, oh, you know what? Zoom is going to work for me, and we're no longer, driving much or doing much, or COVID is keeping us really apart from one another for right now. When things get a little bit easier, we'll come back in person. And thinking about then, our greatest asset, how do we continue to move forward? And making the decision to sell our building, and like the view from here, like where are we and what is this view? What is the view, and what is the view from here? And how is it that I notice both the joys and the sorrows and the pain, the grief, and yet those things that is like, woohoo! We made it to this level, this next level of the summit, as we have been spiritually taking this travel, this summit, and moving further and further along in our spiritual practice. So I think that we have our own personal views. Our personal view, depending on where we're standing, if we're standing shoulder to shoulder, if we're looking toward the north, the east, the south, or the west, whether we're looking up into the skies or whether we're looking down to see where we have come from. Our view is our view. And we also have a collective view because we have been summiting together. We have been on this path together, on this path of growth and unfoldment together. And some have taken a little longer to get here, and some have been waiting for us to arrive. And so irrespective of whether you are the first to reach the summit or whether you're just joining the summit right here, right now, what is the view from here? And how is it that we actually appreciate the view? And I say appreciate the view because whether there's low clouds, fog, smog, clear skies, there is something to appreciate about where you currently are on your personal journey of growth and unfoldment. And this is an opportunity to say, yes, I have made it this far. Yes, This is where I am in this moment. Yes, let me stop and let me breathe. Let me be gentle with myself. Let me recognize the struggles and the joys and be glad in them, that through them I am here. So this is what we get to take a look at this month, is breathe in the view. And sometimes the view can be pretty sexy and sometimes maybe not so much. But what is our view from here? So Ernest Holmes reminds us in what religious science teaches us. He says, the ultimate goal of life does not mean that you shall ever arrive at a spiritual destination where everything remains static and inactive. That which to your present understanding seems an ultimate goal, when attained, be but the starting point for a new and further evolution. We believe in the eternal upward spiral of existence. It's interesting because, when I first read that, I said to myself, dang, Ernest, can you just take a breath right here? Can you just enjoy where you are? Why it gotta be all about, well, good thing you're there, but guess what? There's more. There's more climbing, there's more stretching, there's more to experience. And it's dude, just take a break for a minute. Can I just enjoy this moment? And of course, I believe in my heart of hearts that we must be so present in which to enjoy, in which to just savor, in which to just take note of where I am currently and what it means to me. What does it mean to be here? This is only the place where I have arrived, but then because I have arrived here as a result of all the work, of all my spiritual practice, of my dedication, of my reading, of my study, of my tithing, of my service, of my seva, because of the changing of my thinking, because of all of this, engaging in beloved community, because of all of this, we have arrived right here. And we take a breath. I think what Ernest was talking about in that moment is that, yes, we can pause to reflect, to recognize where we are, and yet what we have arrived at and where we have arrived is the starting point to our greater yet to be. It's just when we're going light to light, it's just yeah, I got to this traffic light. Yes, but this is my starting point to my next one, and my next one, and my next one. And that we actually never, ever truly arrive at this place where everything is just going to be static. That the nature of life is energy, is vibration, it is movement, it is growth and unfoldment, even when it looks like decay. That there is still more. But wait, there's more. Sounds like those commercials. That's exactly what he's talking about. Order now, and you'll receive even greater spiritual evolution. I imagine that, for me, even as, I'm enjoying my physical incarnation, that my continued evolutionary growth continues beyond even the mortal flesh. That I continue to and I only call it evolve, only because there's no other word that really speaks to I continue being. It's really a being, because it's not like we evolve. I think evolution sometimes has this place of like we evolve and then we get to the top. Boom, you're crowned, you're the king or the queen, you're the royalty, and then that's it, you win the prize. You know, evolution for me is just this ever-ending, continuous unfoldment, kind of like a flower. When I think about a rose, you ever look at a rose bud, and even from the tree itself, like how that bulb just kind of pops out, it just kind of grows, and then there's this tightness, and that when it begins to unfold and just kind of unravel, it reveals its beauty, but it continues even after what the human eye might call beautiful, that even as it continues and folks call it no longer beautiful anymore and they discard it, that there's still this evolution of that rose petal, of that rose, of the bush, of all of it in its entirety, and that it continues to bloom and to bloom and to bloom and to bloom, and that no blooms are ever the same. And it is the same with us, that our spiritual evolution, our conscious evolution is a constant unfolding, and that even when we are at this place, wait, there's more. And not that we actually have to wait, but that if we're actually paying attention, that we are actually at the starting point for a new and further evolution, because we are in an eternal upward spiral of existence. Christian Larson says that this is your purpose: to live the purest, the largest, the fairest, the most useful, the most beautiful, and the most spiritual life possible, just for today. To be your very best here and now, with no desire to outshine some other being, but simply to be all that you are in divine being now. I love that. I love that in this moment, the question that we can ask ourselves, the question that I can continuously ask myself is, am I living the purest and the largest and the fairest, most useful, most beautiful, most spiritual life that I possibly can, without trying to outshine anyone else? Is my today, is my now moment me being at my very best? Am I simply being and living my divine self now? And that my spiritual evolution really depends upon my answer to that question, is how am I being now? Am I in the pettiness of oh, well, she said that about me and he said that about me, or any of the quote unquote, what we call playing small today? I'm reminded that this also speaks to the abundance is real, and that the question is am I living from a place of lack and limitation, or am I living the best life now abundantly that I possibly can? Am I playing small? Am I talking about, oh, I cannot afford this or that or the other thing? I guess the question for me has mostly been, can I afford not to? Can I afford not to be abundant? Meaning, an abundance is not only that financial abundance, but I'm talking about the abundant life. Talking about in all areas of my life. Can I afford to play small with love, with family, with peace, with joy, with my finances, with my health and wholeness? Can I afford not to be abundant? And that's the question. Is, am I living my divine life now? Can I be engaging in spiritual practice to up level and to upgrade my divinity in this human form? Am I simply spending time, because I'm waiting to die? Or am I actually utilizing each and every moment now to be and show up as the best me possible? Not trying to outshine anyone else, not trying to win a race, not trying to cast a shadow upon anyone else, but for me, I am the only one with this life. You are the only one with your life. Are we together consciously, individually, and collectively, are we living our best? Am I, with what I currently have, am I living at my best? Am I seeing the glass half empty or half full? Am I being the pessimist, or am I being the realist that says, my life is the life of God? Am I recognizing that through my spiritual practice, just as Hannah spoke of, when I change my thinking, my life changes? Here's our view. We have gotten here together as this spiritual community, as this beloved community. We've gotten here together. Now, what do we want to do? Now, what is our purpose, as Christian Larson speaks to, right? So sometimes I take this and I work backwards. Sometimes I take this and I go, wow, what qualities that Reverend Kevin has listed here, and he's put this on slides for us so beautifully. I take a look at this slide because I have a picture of it. And if you want to take a picture of it, I invite you to do so, right? What do I want to be feeling right now? Sometimes I take a look and go, what's lacking in my life? Is it a sense of health or joy or order? When things become a little bit cluttered in my space, and I go, oh yeah, I desperately need some order here. I desperately need order or balance, or when I'm feeling a lack of plenitude, or when I think to myself, oh, I would love to be generous and donate to that place or this place or the other place, and yet I don't have enough, or I don't feel like I can. I look at this list and I ask myself, which one of these things is lacking in my life? And when I pinpoint what's lacking in my life, I then just simply go to a spiritual practice. I go to a spiritual practice, and then I ask myself, what spiritual practice am I committed to? Whether it's in the daily spiritual practices or the weekly spiritual practices, am I committed to in order to feel order or balance or power or health? And so I work from there, so that the view from where I am is not only the present view, but it is also the starting point for a new and greater evolution. It is the same for us in our abundance of life and health and wholeness, our financial abundance, in our generosity, in our sharing. What spiritual practice might I engage in so that I would feel the fulfillment of that quality that I want to sense and feel? So Ralph Waldo Emerson says, prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. So here I am at this highest point of view. Here I am at this place where my life is abundant, where the abundance is real, and I let it flow. So I'm looking at it from this view, from this perspective, what my life looks like, and I engage in prayer so that I am in alignment with my abundance, that I am in alignment with my next evolution. And so I'll leave us with this affirmation for this month, or actually for this week. I lift my eyes to the highest and grandest view of life. I lift my eyes to the highest and grandest view of life. We are where we are, and yet there is so much more. And yes, we cannot turn back the hands of time to experience the joys or to even experience the sadness. But what we can do is continue on the journey forward. We can continue through our daily spiritual practices to lift our eyes to the grandest and the highest view. And it is there, just as Hannah shared, it is there that we go from our current situation to an even grander and higher experience of our life as the life of God. It is so, beloveds, and so it is, and now it is.